All right, I will say my apologies. My apologies out of bar mitzvah that just went long. I'm sorry, went late. In any event, so I will say, so we're going to pick up tonight, page 38. Page 30. What were you doing for the last 20 minutes?
Waiting for you.
Zevi, what was going on over here?
I don't want to say.
I thought 80s TV trivia. Fantastic. Seriously? See, you know what this tells me is clearly we need to start again from the beginning of the Sefer. Okay? I guess I'm mamish. I'm sorry? I started recording. Yeah, this is all recorded. Yeah, the 80s trivia is now forever part of the annals of shul history, you know. And okay, and that was Steve Goloskov, by the way. Just You're making a name for yourself. All right, let's begin. So we're picking up Emiras Hashem on page 38, Os Tes Zayin. So a really incredible and profound idea over here. So the Machshava says as follows. He says, Od minia pshuta v'tivis yesh shemonaas esa adam milios tamim. So remember again, I will say, one of the things that we're speaking about, again, just to reorient ourselves a little bit, because it's been a little bit of time, is this concept ultimately, again, of being able to see the world, not just simply with our eyes, but being able to see the world ultimately, again, with our neshama. And being able to see the world in a ruchni fashion. So one of the things that the Rebbe introduced us to is that the way to do that is to become a simple person. Thank you, Baruch. To become a simple individual. And one of the things that we were speaking about over the last number of shiurim is how does one become a simple individual? How does one become an ish tamim? So the Machshava says as follows. He says, Od miniyah. So here, remember, he's talking about over here, page 38, the bottom where it says Os Tes Zayin. He's speaking about over here the things which prevent us from becoming simple people. So he says, Upogemes osa shi'er amayo lo ritzini, below leiv below nefesh, min machlo himi machlos hadas. He says, what I'm describing over here is a machlo. That's pretty serious. Sounds like you should take it. Right? Steve, is there an 80s sitcom reference to that or anything like that?
That did sound like Jeopardy. That sounded like St. Elsewhere.
Jeopardy, right? St. Elsewhere. Okay, got it. I rushed back for this. Okay, good, excellent, good. So look what he said. He said, "Come on, let's get it together." Yeah, like a bunch of bachrim and bin azmanim over here, right? Set this guy straight. Yes, all right, so we'll say, so he's describing, remember again, if you notice, by the way, just from our limud, one of the things that the Piazetzna does is he highlights not only what to do, but also really focuses on the things which detract and the things which hold us back. So the Machshava says over here, there's a min machalo, there's a type of illness. He says, machlas hadas. Now we'll say, how would you translate the word machlas hadas? Mental illness. Which is he says, there's a type of mental illness that exists. Now obviously, he's not really referring to this, just to be clear, like in a clinical way, as we're going to see. He says, shenis aklo nafsho levilti lalechas yishara, rak ba'akum fasul v'savuch. He says, this mental illness, this machlas hadas, sorry about that. Right? This is the ice getting back at me for all of the... it's good. It's going to have sense. Thank you. Sorry about that. Shabbos says, he says this mental illness is quite interesting. He says this mental illness, it's incredible. So look at the words. Nis akla nafsho. Literally, again, it uproots the soul. Levilti lalachas yishara rak ba'akum pasal v'savach. And prevents me from finding the straight path in life. This mental illness is so overwhelming that it literally prevents me from going ahead and finding the right derech. And I both say, what's the problem so far? How did you know the answer? Right. First of all, we don't know what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the big story. In other words, what you're talking about, some type of mental illness. What type of mental illness are we referring to over here? He says, "Ukimola chola amachlas atzavim." So we'll say here the Piazetzna gives an interesting clinical reference. He says a person who suffers from depression, Depression, machlas atzavim. I will say, what does depression do to an individual? So again, many things I'm sure, but he says over here, you can't think straight. You can't think straight. I will say, when a person suffers from depression, so what happens? They don't see the world as it is. What do they see? Right? They see the world as they see it. Right? They see it through the lens of their depression. They're not seeing life. They're seeing some contorted or some distorted view of everything that's happening around them. Gamkein lo nispat lo v'nistabcha daitom elachshav kol dar b'tmimos. So to a person who suffers from this mental illness that we're going to discuss, also doesn't see life in a straightforward way. Everything is contorted. Gam lo nispat lo v'nistabcha daitom elachshav kol dar b'tmimos. Min shigaun huzer rachmana litzlan chali upetza machshavahu. Just what I'm describing over here literally causes mental illness, literally causes just a profound and fundamental distortion of everything. Now, we still don't know what he's talking about. I will say, watch this. Va'pirov, makir mesrame befanav, ube'enav, kimo shemakir mescholi, top of page 39, haruach ima'atim harbe. Now, I will say, the truth is, generally, the Piagets and the posits, that when a person is ill, you could perceive it. You could perceive it, right? I will say, you know that when a person is struggling with something, you could perceive if just something is just not as it should be. The Piaget says you can see it in their eyes, you can see it on their face. Sibas machalazu kvar amra hagimar. So we'll say, so what is the machla? Right? What is the illness that we are referring to? Top of page 39. He says, shahabatala mevia lidei shemum. We'll say, this is incredible. What's the illness we're talking about? The illness we're talking about is batala. I say, how would you translate batala? Wasting of time. Idling of time. The greatest mental illness, the greatest thing to be, again, he's not talking in the clinical sense, but the greatest thing that causes what we'll call from a ruchni level, a certain level of internal illness, well, I'll say a better word than illness is what? Is distortion. What causes inner distortion? Batala. Free time. Now we'll say, now it's good to have free time, it's good to have vacation. Too much unstructured time. What happens? We all struggle with this. What happens when you have unstructured time? We'll say, like, you ever have this situation where, like, you have a day where you have nothing planned? Right, so let's play this out for a second, right? What generally happens on that day when you have nothing planned, right? What happens? You think about what? Right? All the things you want to do. Right? And then what often happens is, okay, I should do this. And I will say something interesting happens, which is what happens by the end of that day? You've done nothing. It's fascinating. It's fascinating that when you don't have structure in your life, you often accomplish very little. So the Piaget says, I will say, is incredible. Piaget says, the illness that I refer to is the illness of batala. The illness of batala. I will say, I just want to point something out to you just for a second over here. Understand something, that like, the Piaget died young. Right? The Piaget was in his 40s. When he didn't die, he was killed by the Nazi Machshava Zikram. Piaget died in his 40s. Killed in his 40s. Let's say, the Ramchal was how old when he died? 39. Rabbi Nachman, 39. It's interesting. The Ramchal, Piaget. Let's say, it's very interesting that there are certain people who write about batala, who write about wasting of time. And to me, three authors that I know write extensively about this are the Piaget, Rabbi Nachman, and the Ramchal. Now, I will say, none of those three people knew that they were going to die young. Right? People generally don't know they're going to die young. But can you imagine, I will say 39, what's happening for most people at 39? Especially in today's society. What's that at 39? You're still finding yourself. Right, or identifying yourself. I don't know, whatever the right term is, right? In other words, you're right. You're still right. I'm still like finding who I am. Can you imagine if Rabbi Nachman was still getting his act together at 39 years old? The world would have lost out all of us. Same thing with Ramchal, same thing with the Piaget. So I will say, what made these people great is that they decided from a young age that batala, wasted, unstructured time, is the enemy of personalistic development and accomplish it. Now, I will say, did the Piaget's learn 24 hours a day? No. Piaget's played an instrument, actually. He was musical. We're going to talk about music in Mirz Hashem if we get to it tonight. Unless you want to talk about sitcoms again, we could do that later, right? So again, if we have time, sorry, I had to. I should pick on Zevi because he didn't sing. Right? But again, I just want to point out something amazing. Like when we say don't waste time, don't waste batala doesn't mean that a person is learning all of the time. No person is learning all of that. Chaim Kanievsky was learning and sleeping, but regular people, great people, they're not learning all of that. I will say, batala doesn't mean that you're always learning. What batala means is that there are pockets of time that are unaccounted for. When you go through your day, time has to be accounted for. Just like, right, many of us, we go ahead and we reconcile, right, our checkbooks, right? So you want to make sure that you know what's happening within your checking account, right? So what does that mean? In other words, I just want to know where the dollars went. It doesn't mean I'm not going to spend them. I just want to account how everything is spent, right? That's proper, right? Chaim, correct? Proper financial management? You don't reconcile? By the way, that's like the worst advertising you could possibly do. Aren't you like a CPA? Long story? We're all good? Okay, fine. It's after tax season. You're done. We're wasting time. Oh, good. How come you didn't say that between 8 and 8:20? That's what I want to know. You were singing. Okay, good. Beautiful. So listen to this. The idea of batala is that, again, I will say, should a person have time to relax? Of course. Should a person have time where they could just, just do nothing, so to speak, and think? Absolutely. But lamaisa, every moment has to be accounted for. I will say, I started doing this in myself. It's actually very good. Often I try to create like a schedule before the day starts that usually gets blown up about like 20 minutes into the day. But I recently tried to start doing is at the end of the day, account for how I spent my time, right? What did I do throughout the day? And I will say it's very instructive because at least what I found is there's time that was not used wisely. Time that was not used wisely, right? And time that could have been better. So again, I want to be clear, not that I could have been learning or doing this. I mean, just time that I just could have used constructively. Like there's 35 minutes. I don't know what I did during those 35 minutes. So chances are, if I don't know what I did during those 35 minutes, what does that tell me? Right? Batala. I wasn't out there like eating chazer or like wearing shatnez, right? But lamaisa, clearly it wasn't used productively. So the Piaget says, batala mevia lide shiamum. Now, it's a very strong statement. Second line on page 39. It says, batala, so wasted time. Lead shimun. I will say, literally, shiamum means insanity, right? Insanity. Now, you're going to see what he means. He says, meduya kalashon shiamum velo shigaon, which is not totally true. The word insanity is shigaon. So what does shiamum mean? He says, echad memine shigaonhu, shumedaber bedas, rak shenase mesubach umafutal deya bedeya, svara besvara, below his. It's incredible. Shigaon therapist, you're going to help me out with this, right? So shigaon is when like a person is literally insane. And you could just, is insane, are you allowed to say that word anymore? It's still a legal term? Okay.
No. Mental health diagnosis.
Okay, got it. But you could say it.
In certain circles.
In certain circles. Got it. Okay. Got it. I'm just going to use it.
You're not playing with a full deck.
Not playing with a full deck. That's worse. That's much worse. Right. Lights are always
Elevator doesn't go to the top.
Good.
What else you want?
No more. Right? I'm good. I got it. Like I said, insane, right? So what does it mean, insanity? Insanity is a person who is totally disjointed. In other words, that shigaon means like when you look at them, you talk to them, you could see just something's not right. Shiamum, says the Piaget, is when a person presents externally like everything is fine, but internally everything is in a state of disrepair. That's shiamum. So the Piagesna says, batala mevia lide shiamum. Right? Ultimately, batala, we'll say when a person battles, when a person just wastes their time. So externally, you interact with a person like that, how are they going to look?
Fine.
Normal. Totally fine. Internally, you're in a profound state of disrepair. Then I will say, what's the problem when you're in a profound state of disrepair? What's the challenge with it? The challenge with it is that lemaisa, it distorts the whole way you see the world. Remember, I will say the whole avodah over here, Bnai Machshava Tova, is to stop seeing the world only with our physical eyes, but also to see it with our spiritual eyes. The problem is when a person is in a state of shiamum, a person is in the state of, we'll call it lesser insanity, right? Lesser insanity. Externally, they look totally fine. You talk to them, normal conversation. You interact with them, totally normal. Internally, totally disjointed. That's what batala does to you. I will say, yes.
This is reminding me of an English expression which says, an idle mind is the devil's workshop.
An idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Now, I know we don't exactly believe in the devil, I don't think. But
yeah, we don't at all believe in the devil.
But there is an implication
right,
that
absolutely.
you've been taken over by some kind of
force.
That,
or is it the idle mind?
Idle mind
is the devil's workshop. Right,
Sorry.
Incredible. Right, yeah, so we'll say, I just want to point out over here, and that's great, that's incredible. We'll say, again, to be clear, the Piagetna is not saying that you have to be learning, or even for that matter, learning, working, or so. Batala means just wasted time. Time, in other words, like, if I decide I'm relaxing now for the next hour, is that batala? No. Why? I've made a conscious decision about how to use the time. You see, batala is when you don't make a conscious decision about how to use your time just gets used up. Right? A productive, directed life is where I decide how to use my time. A batala life is when my time just gets used up and I really wasn't involved in how it got used. I just kind of sat back, relax, and enjoy the ride. And I didn't anyway utilize that time. I would say, time is the greatest resource we have. I say this at every single levaya that I do, which is that often people live life as if time is an infinite, renewable resource, when in fact it is a finite, non-renewable resource. Time, right? Money, the truth is a renewable resource. You could always make more of it. Time is a finite, non-renewable resource. If you wasted an hour today, you could be better tomorrow. But we'll say one thing is for sure, which is what? That is a sunk cost. Chaim, Nehemiah, does that right? Good. I forgot about Nehemiah over here. Good, Chaim. I'm not asking anymore. You've clearly he's still singing. Okay, good. Hey, Joseph. It's true. I'm sure you did excellent, by the way. I have no doubt. Yeah, you always get that. You don't need it. You're fantastic. So I just want to point out, the Piaget is saying over here. So when we go ahead and we just don't plan life, that's batala. There can't be a part of your day that's not planned. Now again, sometimes you have to pivot, right? Sometimes you plan, and okay, something occurred. I have to pivot. I'll say, when you have to pivot, you have to account for it. You have to. In other words, let's say, if you imagine for a moment, that you know how sometimes a person in the corporate world has an expense account, right? So you could go, you have an expense account. I don't know, I'm not in the corporate world, but I would imagine if you have an expense account, right, what do you have to do with your expense account?
Account for it.
You have to account for it. In other words, I took the client out to dinner. Oh, okay, we bought a couple of nice bottles of wine. But I have to, there's no such thing on the expense account as saying oh, I don't know what that $3,000 is for. It must have been important because obviously I spent it. I would never frivolously spend the money of the company. If you can't account for it, you're in very big trouble. I will say, what's an expense account? Essentially, your company is extending credit to you because they believe that you have the ability to bring in results and they want to give you the budget to bring in those, to make it rain, right? To make those results occur. So imagine for a moment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us an expense account. The expense account is called time. It's called time. Why does he give me the expense account? Because he believes in me. Because he says Silber has something to do, something to accomplish, and that's fine. That's great. The only catch is, you need to itemize how you're spending the company money. So what are you doing? So right, what did you do in the morning? And what did you do in the afternoon? And what did you do between the hours of 8 and 9 in the morning? And 2 and 3 in the afternoon? And 10 to 11? Now, by the way, if the answer is sleeping, great. That's fine. As long as you're consciously aware of how you're spending company resources. The answer is you're relaxing? Fantastic. As long as you are consciously aware of how you're spending company resources. Because when a person leads a life of batala, life just becomes, it's a blur. It's just a blur. And he says, maybe lidia shiamum. You speak to a person who's a batlan. When you speak to them, do they sound normal? Sure. You're right? You hear them. Do they sound normal? Absolutely. Right? Externally, everything is normal. Internally, everything is in a fundamental state of disrepair. The Piagetza goes on. He says, Lachain, afapi rov rak holchei batal hem ramoim hachi gidolim. Omisha oved b'mocho avodas hamutelas alav, omisha oved avoda kasha gam begufa bilvad, asher macheshes gam es daitu kafi shamar nekvar. I'll say there ain't no ramai. So also listen to this. This is incredible. I mean, this is actually a pretty strong statement. He says, a person who battles becomes a ramai. I will say, how would you define ramai? Liar or get ready for this one. Good. Duplicitous. I'm studying for the GED. Right? Duplicitous. Right? Duplicitous. Right? Duplicit. Is that a word? Yeah. Excellent. Right? Good.
A person that's bottled becomes
duplicitous. In other words, that you see, here's the chap. When your mind and your time is not occupied with the right thing, by definition, it becomes occupied with the wrong things. An idle mind is the devil's workshop. In other words, the important part to remember is the only place in life you will ever find something pariv is where?
ice cream.
Right? In your kitchen. Right? In your kitchen you can find pariv. In life, there's no such thing as pariv. You're either milchiks or fleishiks. Like the Balatani writes about this. You're either a tzaddik or a rasha. Either doing the right thing or the wrong thing. There's no pariv.
I've got a Benoni.
I'm sorry?
Benoni.
So Benoni, but even Benoni, you could be a Benoni for a moment, but even then you got to choose a side. Right? You can't exist perpetually in the status of Benoni. You could remain there for a little bit. So also the Piaget says something amazing. A person who chooses to be a batlon, you don't remain a batlon. You know what you become? A ramai. You become a deceitful person. A deceitful person. Now, I'll say, by the way, if you think about the mashal, it makes perfect sense. Think about it, by the way. Think about it just right. Why does a ram? I just want to point out, ramai is such a strong statement. Who's called a ramai? Who's called a ramai? Lavan. Let's say, so you're going to tell me, okay, so I'll go. I'm a guy who wastes time. Got it. Self-acknowledged time waster. So now, because of that, I'm a ramai. So I'll say, now we understand what's the pshat. Why is a batlan a ramai? Why is a batlan a ramai? Right? I will say, remember going back to the mashal was just said before. You're stealing from the company. You're stealing from the company. The company gives you an expense account. The company, the Rebbe Hashem, gives you time. He gives you time. And there's only one prerequisite, which is you have to account for how you use it. You want to go ahead and use the company credit card, which I do everyone say. When you wake up in the morning, I will say, you have a prepaid company credit card. Right? What does the prepaid company credit card have on it? It has 24 hours. Let's get 24 hours. Okay, prepaid company, fantastic. Prepaid card, wonderful. Great, use it. But you have to account for how you use it. And if you don't account for how you use it, you're no different than the guy who shows up at the company, right in the boss's office, and says, there's $3,000 in charges. Sorry, I don't know what that was for. You don't know what that was for. You're a thief. Then you're a thief. You take time, the company gives you time, and you don't know how you're using it. That's a ramai. We'll say it's strong. By the way, I want to tell you something. I was preparing this afternoon, And I lost my breath a little bit from it, only because I felt the Piagesna was giving me, he took me by the lapels, it was giving me musar, which was fantastic. I thanked him for it, but it's I waste time, I'm a Ramai. I waste time, I'm deceitful. I'm taking resources that have been given to me, and I'm misappropriating them. That's theft. Yes, Chaim.
Isn't it more that he's a Rama because he's justifying to himself why what he's doing is okay? That's where the Ramos comes to that. He's saying, I'm in a rut, or I'm in I'm just completely wasting time. And you know what? It's okay, because whatever reason it is, that's where the falsehood comes in, that he's tricking himself into thinking.
Right, I hear. The truth is, you're right. In other words, I glossed over it, but the Piagesna does say over here, he says, Umafutal dea bedea, svara besvara b'lo. He gives himself false ideas. You're right. But I think the excuses are wrong. But I think that just the lashon of Rama is such a strong lashon. You want to call someone a shakran, right? Shakran means a liar. Rama is something so much more profound. It's deceitful. To me, that's like embezzlement type of material, right?
Every time you interact with them.
Right. True also, but it could very well be. Rabbi Chaim saying he's making excuses for himself. Rabbi Yitzi saying he's misrepresenting himself. I think at the core of it, to me, and again, I want to tell you something like to me, this is a great nisayon for me to use to be able to know how to use time. To be able to know how to use time and to know how to use it in the most successful way. So the Piaget is saying over here, again, you have this, the Machshava gives it to you, you misuse it, or you don't use it, that's called Ramos. So
Is he lying to?
I'm sorry?
Is he lying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? He's lying to
Chaim saying he's lying to himself. He's lying to himself. By the way, all of the above. You're stealing from God, you're stealing from yourself. By the way, you're also saying you're also deceiving other people. He also say, you know this, by the way, a batlan, right? A person who wastes time, if you do it enough, so we all know people like this, right? It devolves into a certain persona, right? You become you're like that guy, and it does, for whatever the reason, it really does devolve into a deceitful personality. It's the person who often gets involved in things that he shouldn't be getting involved in, or with people he shouldn't be getting involved. So I think you're lying to yourself, most importantly. You're lying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, also most importantly. I even think the lying to other people is probably the least of this, but absolutely true as well. It's such a profound idea. He goes on, he says, so what's the answer? So I will say, so how do you not be a batlan? That wasn't good English, but you understand, right? So how could someone avoid being a batlan? What's the answer?
Schedule your time.
Or, simpler, be busy. Be busy. Look what the Piagesna says. He says, Umisha ovid b'mocho avoda motasav. Supposed to say, how can you be busy? Person can be intellectually busy. How are you intellectually busy? You learn. And by the way, learning can mean learning of Torah, but learning can also mean even other things that are productive. So you could be intellectually busy. Or, Misha Oved Avoda Kasha Gam Begufa Bilvad. We'll say, what does that mean? Someone who is physically busy. I'm working hard. Well, what do you mean working hard? We'll say, by the way, he's saying literal physical labor. I know building. I know as Jews, physical labor. Yeah. I have a guy for that. I have someone I could call for that, right? So the Piagesna says, by the way, we'll say, it's actually interesting. Because what he's saying is, if a person struggles, we'll say, I want to tell you something. This is also a big thing in chinuch today. We have so many children who are just uninspired and uninterested. And when that happens, ultimately it leads to battle. I was just having a conversation with a young man who was telling me, not from in town, was telling me that, he and his friends, they wake up 2:00 in the afternoon. They go to he said Elk store. What's that? Elk store. I thought it was alcohol. Okay, fine. I don't speak the jargon. Right? He said we buy a big thing of Tito's, vodka. Right? They drink that. They smoke, read the whole day like that. That's what they do. I said to the kid, Plony. I said, at least go hang out with girls. Right? Meaning what? I know that sounds strange. Right? do something. You wake up and you sit in a room and you drink and you smoke and you go to sleep, and you wake up and you drink and you smoke and you go to sleep. Like, that's the Piyashet. That's batala. That's batala. I said, run around wherever this person, run around 15 times. Move stuff from point A to point B. But something to go ahead and get yourself moving. Something, right, to get yourself, so the Piaget's saying is, that's what he says, mental, again, I want to be clear, say, this is what I love about the Piaget's. The Rebbe, our Rebbe, was so real. I will say, is learning Torah all the time for everyone? Is it for everyone? No. I will say, but Hashem, I'm happy to have my sons here. Like, these boys could do things that I cannot do. They could sit and they could plug away for hours upon hours. I can't do it. They could do it, which is Baruch Hashem. They have a great mother. That's why they can go and accomplish that. I would say, so is sitting in a beis medrash, plugging away for hours, and even Bachram, by the way, Bachram shouldn't learn all the time, right? They need to have lunch. They should play a little ball. They should have this, but again, all structured, right? All accounted for. That I know. I'm having lunch here. I'm playing ball over here. I'm taking a walk over here. I'm calling my kalo, over here. Whatever it is, right? It should all everything ultimately again should be structured in different ways. So I will say the Piaget is so real. He says, okay, learning is not for everyone. So I will say, so what do I do? I'm not a learner, or I'm a learner, but I can learn for an hour a day. That's what I could do. That's my thing, right? I'm not okay. Physical exertion. It could be planting a garden, right? It could be doing your job, whatever it is. In other words, be busy. Be productively engaged throughout your entire day. And again, I can't say enough, because sometimes we hear these things and it sounds like the bar is being set as be productively engaged means learn all the time. Or I'll say being productively engaged just means that if somebody asks you, tell me, can you show me how you spent the last 24 hours? And you know what you should be able to do? You should be able to produce a schedule of how you spent the last 24 hours. Now again, it could be you slept for 9 hours, which is ridiculous. Right? No one needs to sleep for 9 hours. But okay, fine. You slept, right? I slept, I relaxed, I took a walk, I'm intentionality. And I will say, by the way, Bahar, I'm so happy you brought that. I was going to say this to the end. I will say, if you remember again, this goes back to the beginning of the Sefer. So much of the Piaget was all about intentionality. Don't let life live you. You live your life. Intentionality. And so when you go ahead, I was thinking bumper sticker, but okay, right? When you go ahead, when you write, or the name of a sitcom, perhaps again. All right, I'm sorry. That's it. Last one. That was it. Now I'm done. It's out of my system. I'm done. Right? So again, lemaisa. Again, I would say that's what it's all about. It's not about learning. Okay, if you could learn a whole day, fantastic, right? Ashrecha, beautiful. Most of us can't do that, but I can absolutely live life with a sense of intentionality. What am I doing? How am I? I just want to point out, what's our goal? Give me just 1 second. What's our goal?
See with our Neshama.
To see with our Neshama. I will say again. I reference this every single shir. At the end of the day, what do I want out of life? I want to see by Shalashuddis. I don't just want to see egg salad and tuna, right? Like the Piaget said, I want to see the Merkava. I want to see the chariot of the Ribono Shel Olam coming through Shalashuddis. I want to feel that sense of closeness. That's what I want. I want to see with my soul and not just with my eyes. I want to see the multiple dimensions. I want to see this. I want to see it. Piaget says, you could see it. But if you're insane, because you're idle most of your life, you're not going to see anything. First of all, you probably can't even see with your eyes. So you're not going to see the You're not going to see the chariot. What are we going to say?
So if you intentionally choose to spend 45 minutes to watch your favorite clean comedian because it makes you laugh and feel joy, is that wasting time or is that using time?
So I think everything depends on a person. Do people need outlets? Good outlets? Yes. Yes. So a person feels that, a little bit of humor, like if you were asking, if we were alone, and not with a whole group of people over here, right? And you were asking me that question, that for me, it's helpful. 45 minutes of clean comedy to laugh. And say, is that a good use of time? I said, if that's restorative and rejuvenative for you and allows you then to kind of like grab life by the reins or grab the reins of life and say, yes, go for it. Go for it. But again, 45 minutes, not binge watching, right? So again, if 45 minutes turns into, let me catch up on the last 73, seasons of my favorite show, right? My beard is going to be down to here, right? And that. Then I say, and again, that's where it becomes dangerous. That's where it becomes dangerous. Like a lot of these things, which in moderation are fine and maybe even productive, when it becomes a binge. I just learned this term about binge watching. There was an article in the journal about this, about binge watching. Like, it was fascinating to me. And that's the PhD thing. So binge watching? You're just going to watch stuff for hours upon hours upon hours? Again, okay, I digress. Let's come back to this. Let's finish up. We have Dad Mariv. Let's finish up. So the Piagetna says, he goes on, he says, Misha Ovid Avoda Kasha, Gam Begufo, Asher Macheshes Gam is Daito, Kvi Shemarna Kvar Le'el, Eino Ramai. If I'm busy, I get myself busy, then by definition, God, we're going to dive in for Mariv. We're going to dive in just a few moments. Eino Ramai. Good, I think there's another guy. Okay, fine. Zosomeres, Shepetza Zusha Shamam Upito Imbamocho. Say, if I'm busy, then by definition, again, that shimum, that insanity is outside of me. Refua amitis hi shalolios mefuto rak tomim. Look what he does. You see how the font changes? We're davening in 1 minute. They're waiting out there. Hey, you see how the font changes in this? You see how the font? Herchek es atzmicha min abatala. Herchek kimitachave keshas. Go ahead and distance yourself from batala, from idleness, the distance that an arrow shoots. As Rabbi say, run away from idleness. Run away. So again, I just want to point out, this I'm going to end. With this I'm going to end. He says, Val Tadam. So let me say this outside. What's an interesting Sefer HaChinuch. Sefer HaChinuch says, in the midst of Som Tasim Alecha Melech, person should have a king. Chazal should appoint a king. So the Sefer HaChinuch says something dramatically amazing. He said, well, Sefer, that's the following question. What's better, a bad king or no king? What would you say? Bad king or no king?
No king.
Bad king.
Right? You go both ways on it. Sefer HaChinuch says, bad king. Sorry, I still love you. Right? It was 50-50, right? Bad king is always better than no king. Why? Sefer HaChinuch says, better to move in the wrong direction than no direction at all. Says the Piaget says something amazing. He says, because if you move in the wrong direction, okay, you're moving. You could course correct. He says, batala, essentially batala, inaction, no movement, that's the undermining of everything. So I will say, the Piaget says there is something absolutely amazing. He says, I will say, sometimes I spend my time on the wrong things. As long as you're conscious about what you're spending your time on, you're in a great place. Because if it turns out that you spend your time on the wrong thing, but you're consciously aware of how you spend your time, then what? You could course correct. But if you're a batlan is just the person who just doesn't take any accounting of how they spend their time at all, then I will say, then I'm really in trouble. Because then at the end of the day, if I don't really know how I'm spending my time at all, the ability or opportunity or probability of course correction is very low. Bless you. Is very low. So that's the answer. Listen to this. Then we have to end. We have to end after this. Listen to this. I wanted to do 2 sections today, but okay. So I'm sorry about that. So listen to this. He says, and don't fool yourself into thinking, okay, you know what? I learned the Piagetna. I am going to schedule 3 to 4 hours out of my day. No. Kiganov hu Sahara. He says, Vidailo shebatcha sararagam. I will say, all you need, this is pretty wild, says Piagetna, all you need is 10 minutes of unstructured time. Once you give the Sahara 10 minutes of unstructured time, give him a foothold, you're done. The yichpal od asara Because we'll say, what happens? You give the Yitzhara 10 minutes. What happens? TikTok, right? TikTok, the app. Right. Just another right, another. Good. I can't officially acknowledge that because I want to hold on to my job. But right, I have a friend who told me about that. I heard about that. Right. Good. Right. Right. By the way, I'll say this is social media. Right. You get on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. Right. I'm just going to watch one thing. Let's say before you know it, it's an hour and a half later. And what have you done? So he says, he says, you go ahead and you give the Yitzhara, you give the Yitzhara 10 minutes, right? You know, what was it? I don't know, for those of you who are from New York, right? 10 wins, right? Give us 10 minutes, we'll give you the world, right? Do they have that? You don't have that here in Baltimore.
You know that.
Yeah, but
How do you know it?
I know that line.
What's the line?
Yeah, we give you 10 minutes, we'll give you the world.
I know that.
Okay, 10 wins in New York, right? Good.
With your Baltimore's give us 2 hours.
Give us your hours, right? Hello, hon. It was 6 star, right? Right. Charles, listen to this. The Piaget says, you give the Yitzhara 10 minutes. Listen to this. The 10 when says, give us 10 minutes, we'll give you the world. Yitzhara says, give me 10 minutes and I'll rob you of your world. Just give me 10 minutes. Just give me 10 minutes. And I'll take another 10 and another 10 and another 10 after that. It was because v'yichpolt odasara v'odasara b'yom v'nisbalbulu kol machshavosecha gam mesharim. So we'll say, what comes out is something amazing. So let's bring this together and we have to marry. So the Piaget, I know I've said that 15 times, right? Piaget, it's just too good. It's just too good. We should do this really every night. So again, the Piaget says that, what's our goal? So let's kind of reframe this. What's our goal? The goal is to be tamim. That's always our goal. Just to be simple, Pashat Yidden, to be simple Jews. That's right. Everybody always wants to be an intellectual. I'll tell you, as I get older, I don't want to be an intellectual. I have absolutely zero that. What I want to be is, I want to be simple. I want to be a Pashat Yid. Right? That I just want to be a simple Jew. That's really all I want to do. Piaget says, okay, I want to be a simple Jew. The enemy of the simple Jew is Batala. Serbo says, so what comes out from the Piaget? If we want to be able to cultivate our spiritual awareness on our spiritual sight, they'll say, we have to avoid Batala. So let's do something practical. How do you avoid Batala? So let's do a little exercise. Schedule your day. Right? In other words, was it at the beginning of every day or the night before? Map it out. And I both say, map it out to the moment. In other words, we all have calendars, right? We all have calendars. There should never be an empty box, an empty space on a calendar. Everything should be accounted for. Now, sometimes you can't necessarily do that proscriptively. You have to do it retrospectively. But that's okay. I will say that it should be that I should know, how did I spend my time? What time did I wake up? Right? Where did I daven? What did I do after davening? At work, right? What time was I at work? What was I? Let's say it would be a fascinating exercise, and I think if we stuck to it for a week, then in Meretz I will say we would really be able to get an incredible snapshot of our lives. Like, what are we doing, and how are we doing it? Because the Piaget says we may not realize, but we may be allowing an incredible amount of batala into our lives, and an idle mind is the devil's playground. Right? I love it, by the way. I love it. Do I have to give you like a copay or something? Or are we okay, good. All right? This is on the house. This is on the house. Good. So the mice again, idle mind is the devil's playground. We'll say, so the Piaget says, just avoid batala. And again, to be clear, batala doesn't mean that I'm learning all the time. This is very important. Batala means you could play ball, you could go to the game, you could watch the you could do it. But are you accounting for your time? And I will say, if we get into the habit of accounting for our time, life just becomes fundamentally different. If I account for my time, I avoid the clutches of batala. And if I avoid the clutches of batala, I'm one step closer to seeing with my neshama. I will say, Shkoyach, I apologize again. I will say again, I just want to give you coming attractions. Now, I am supposed to be in Eretz Yisrael next week, so I'm not going to be a shir, but my daughter Bishar Tova Maslachas is due as well. So I'm not sure. So I hope to be in Eretz Yisrael, in which case there wouldn't be a share. But if I'm here, then the chum will be that I'll get to learn Piaget with all of you. So the piece that I didn't get to tonight, get ready, coming attractions. Piaget speaks about the power of music. Oh wow! power of music, right? That's our next Shavuos coming attractions. Rosai, right? It's all right. Lag Bomer. Shkayach, Rosai, Shkayach. Again, I thank you. Who are the sponsors? Rosai, thank you to the sponsors. Rabbi Yitzi.
For continued commercial for his grandfather, Jerry Applebaum for the yard site of his father-in-law. I don't know the names of the company and how he's sponsored.
Okay, Rosai, Shmed, this Shkayach to everyone. Please take more food. Myris. Leave it set up. Yeah, leave it set up. I will leave everything.
If everyone can throw out the garbage, we're going to leave the tablecloths.